Hello and welcome to JCG, which stands for Jellycat Gamer. Oh man, this is a thing. Final Fantasy 15 multiplayer expansion, comrades. Let's go. I wonder how many Final Fantasy fans are actually okay with this multiplayer excuse for Final Fantasy. Because, like, by far, if you wanted a Final Fantasy multiplayer game, 14 is definitely better. Granted, that one is a pay per month. However, though, the quality shows and you don't have such ridiculous waits for the load time. Not to mention you can play with as many friends as you want. Unlike this, you can only play with up to 4 people. And even then, the party system is pretty annoying. Like, yeah, it's cool that they kinda used the ruined world after Noctis basically got absorbed into the crystal, but they could have done so much more with it. However, though, yes, they are still adding content. However, though, that content is still just missions, which, again, take a long time to load. So, yeah. And we're still waiting on the load times. Good example of how long they are right here. I wonder how many people actually entered the Final Fantasy franchise with this as their first game. There's gotta be quite a few. Because, yeah, the last Final Fantasy game that was released was. It wasn't actually 14, because, well, 14, technically a 14 expansion was. However, though, technically the last, like, full game that was released was Part 3 of Final Fantasy 13, that awful series. Could never get into Final Fantasy 13, that was just so awful. Oh my gosh, that audio peak on the game. Let's see if I can adjust that. Let's bring it to there. We'll see how that goes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's much better.
My friend Dino called to give me another update about the situation at Golden Key.
Oh my god, now voice. That needs to come down too. We'll keep that one at 70 just because voices are more important, but they can still be annoying. So yeah, in this you get to basically create a character, run off, fight monsters, and feel like a hero for restoring power. Basically, you're an errand boy. How nice.
I can barely keep up with you.
And what's funny is you can see all the missions here. See all the missions. It's like, what's the point? Like, let's see here. Which mission do we want to do? Guess we'll do Robot Resurrection because it's the only urgent quest that I have to do. And we'll be
Very
going
well.
with some AI
Do
for
be
now.
careful.
Mostly just because I found that the multiplayer tends to actually be dead with this game, depending on what quest you're doing. Because most people are more interested in the new stuff that got released with the 1.2 patch, which I haven't gotten to yet. Oh, man. So I have no idea what all content was added with the new patch. I know chocobo breeding is a thing. And so there are some new sigils, but that's about all that I know. But yeah, no. Although the multiplayer may not be that great, I really did enjoy the actual, like, base game of Final Fantasy XV. It was a lot of fun. Kept me entertained for quite a while. I'm trying to think about which Final Fantasy was my favorite. Hey lady! Which Final Fantasy is your favorite?
Honestly, 7, followed shortly thereafter by 8, believe it or not. But 7's my ultimate.
Okay. So, lady says 7 is her favorite, followed shortly thereafter by 8. Honestly, I'd have to say that of my favorite games, I don't know, I really can't tell which one's my top. 7 is definitely a favorite, but I'd say after 7 would probably be 10 for me.
Now, here's the thing. Divided into storyline, absolutely hands down 7.
Yeah.
Graphics, at the time, 8 blew everything out of the water. Music, 10.
I could see that, yeah. Story of 7, graphics of 8 for the time, and then music of 10. Well, yeah, the opening sequence of 10 was, like, great. Like, I don't disagree there. That is still my favorite opening sequence in any of the Final Fantasy. Huh? Yeah, well, who knows when the remake of 7 is coming out. Oh, Grandma just found out about the remake. I'm surprised you never told her about it. Well, yeah, it's like the game where she logged more hours than you. Oh, the original Final Fantasy. Still, though, I always knew Grandma was a fan of Final Fantasy. Really? I didn't know she played D&D. You learn something new. Well, I mean, I guess, but like, you hear about her being like a lawyer and all that. She doesn't really talk much about being a D&D player. Like, nobody tells me these things. Interesting to know, though. I mean, I'm not surprised there. The only one that hates games is Grandpa. Yeah. Although, he's become more accepting of it because of Grandma.
He doesn't have a choice.
Exactly, so he's just given up. In fact, you'll hear him talk about it sometimes. He'll be like, oh, hey, didn't you do this in Guild Wars, Grandma? So, yeah. Slowly but surely. We are such a weird family. Well, no, I've known this for the longest time. I mean, I'm not exactly normal now, am I?
Sorry for the wait.
But yeah, no, I honestly can't
One
say
can't
for
wage war
sure
on an empty
which
stomach,
Final
so eat
Fantasy
up.
was my personal favorite. Mostly just because I guess I've really haven't played, like, most of them, so I don't know whether, like, any of the old ones would really jump out at me. I remember the one Final Fantasy that really got me interested in the series, though, because I used to see you guys play it. Final Fantasy XI. Like, I used to watch you guys play that, and it always looked so interesting, and I was so upset that I never got to play it.
That was the very first RPG.
That was the first online. Yeah. But yeah, no, I was absolutely crushed because I never got to play it. You let Ashley play it, but you never let me.
I always thought the whole premise of it was good.
Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's...
Kind of disappointed with 14 compared to 11.
Well, yeah. Like, 11's actually still a thing. You can actually still get 11 for the computer. And I was honestly tempted about getting it, but honestly at this point, like, the population that plays the game is, like, so little that it's not... It's like why I didn't get, Demon Souls. Because, like, it's the community that really made the game.
My friend Dino called to give me another update about the situation at Golden Key.
Well, yeah, you and Grandma are really
You're the
into
talk of
Guild
the town,
Wars,
kid,
but
thanks
to
to
be
those
fair, they're
photos.
still updating and continuing Guild Wars 2. Yeah, whereas Final Fantasy XI basically ran its course. But, and honestly, didn't, I really didn't have too much of a complaint with Final Fantasy XIV. You just had started it, so you didn't really get to go as far into it as I did. But once you start getting into it, it is not bad at all. Like, I hadn't even gotten to the part where I could use flying mounts, and I was having fun. Some of the story, like, in the beginning, is very confusing because you're just like, where do I go? Because you haven't really, like, discovered the area. But after you get, like, a hang of, okay, I gotta go here, then do this, go there, it's not that bad. Not to mention the fact that you can basically become every single class.
But you know what? In a way, he's...
So you really don't have to worry about not being able to do something. So that was kind of cool. However, though, it does suck because
the
there were
talk of
less
the town,
classes
kids,
than
thanks
in
to those
Final Fantasy
photos.
XI.
My friend Dino called to give me another update about the situation at Golden Key.
I think the thing that really interested me about Final Fantasy XI with its multiplayer was just the map was really cool. Like, the world. Because, like, you could go through a cave, find, like, I remember seeing, I forget who it was who was playing at the time, but they came out of an entrance and found a little enclosed area, and then a freaking legendary skeleton spawned, and then just beat the crap out of them.
I got followed by a legendary. Really?
I foresee
But, like,
great
yeah,
things
it
on
was
your
always
horizon.
like you never know what you were gonna find if you just wandered around. It was always cool. Not to mention, like, you also had to be careful because, like, in areas there weren't just, like, it wasn't level divided. Like, in an area where there were low levels, there were also high levels that would easily wipe you if you aggroed them. That was, like, my favorite thing about it. It was so cool. And then, like, the raids, too. Those were cool. Like, seeing the massive parties form to take on, like, even just those, like, legendary field monsters that spawned. So, yeah, I guess Final Fantasy XI really interested me. So, personally, I would love to see it if they... I would love to see a revived Final Fantasy XI. I would play it in a heartbeat. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and do this quest.
A fine choice. Take care out there.
But, okay, what was your least favorite Final Fantasy? Mine is 13, hands down. Like, I loved some of the character, like, development and design, but the actual, like, gameplay and then the story more towards the end was just like, ugh.
Nine was okay, but here, throw him this edge until he can really get something together with 10. 13 was a letdown.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was really hoping it would be something.
Like I said, they had good characters, they just didn't have a good story. And then the gameplay. Like, I'm fine with putting up with a crap story as long as the gameplay's good.
I rather have a good story.
Well, yeah, I guess, but you're in, like, one of those story-driven gamers where I'm, like, a gameplay-driven.
Give me a good story and give me decent graphics, even if it's not perfect graphics.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't care about graphics.
The story is riveting. I will play a game, or I'll make you play it.
Yeah, with the Resident Evil.
But yeah,
Yeah, no. I think my biggest thing, though, with Final Fantasy 13 was it was so linear it wasn't even funny. Like, compared to all other Final Fantasies. Yeah, but it was acceptable. Not to mention, more towards the end anyway, it really opened up with... But Final Fantasy 13 really had no excuse. Not to mention, you could barely even grind in that game, and most of the time your characters were underpowered. Like, part of Final Fantasy was the grind. Yeah. The mega bosses. But, like, my thing was, like, with 13, you were just, like, you were pit up against these, like, bosses that you were just, like, you had to do everything perfectly to beat them because you couldn't grind to make your character more powerful. yeah, you had really no room for error. But, like, yeah. Like I said, though, I don't care about a good story, because, like, I absolutely adored Time Splitters for the PS2, and it was just like, whatever, cliche story, but the gameplay was so fun. Because they had you go through different areas in time with actual weaponry from the time period, and it was just, oh my god. Dark Cloud is another great game, yes. Yeah, there were just criterias, but you basically built the town around some of those criterias, but there wasn't just one set schematic. You could mix it up. Yeah, you could grind. Heck, there were weapon trees. You could upgrade your weapons and design them how you wanted. And then the original Dark Cloud had 6 characters, so basically you got to decide, oh, hey, which character do I really like more to play as?
So another good game for that was Tales of Symphonia.
Tales of was okay, but if we want to talk really like having characters and like designing them the way that you want, oh my god, there was a game for the PS2, I forget the name of it, but basically you had this ship, and you basically had to build an army.
Bon appetit.
And you could have, like, I think it was 135 different characters.
Yeah, oh god.
It's hard to recreate the taste of home, but I make do with the seasonings I have.
I forget which one that is.
I know, it was such a good game, but I can't remember the name of it because it's been so long.
I think that's why I really like Guild Wars, because the characters you can create.
Well, like, yeah, games with character creation generally allow you to have whatever character you want. Like, a good example of a game that I really like, where it has a core group of characters, but then really lets you build the characters as you like. A really good example of this, Disgaea. It always had a core set of characters, but you basically got to make your own little army by creating characters that you wanted to. So, that was a thing. Oh man, now that I've gone off on a tangent and the timer's gone for... Oh no, it's fine, it was fun. Now that the timer's at just about 24 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and end this part, and we'll pick it up, and yeah. Oh man, so thank you all for listening to this little ramble segment. I'm sure you couldn't hear who I was talking to in the background, but I was basically talking to... I call her Lady, but... that might be quiet, so... But yeah, no, Lady is my mother, but I just call her Lady. And my sisters tend to call her Spawner. And the reason why I call her Lady is because of one of my favorite game series, Devil May Cry, specifically the 3rd entry, where you meet a character called Lady. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time on JCG.